Hello, we are Geeks Assembled. Yeah, yes, right.
What are you doing?
You know, I wish you'd have given me the heads up she was going to do that.
I didn't know. She'd be a little wild today. She corrects me and gives you an alarm that you don't need.
That's a little hint of the movie we're discussing. We're discussing Sam Peckinpah's 1978 movie Convoy, starring Chris Christopherson and Alan McGraw. It's a film of a convoy. Simple as that. So, opening thoughts, Susan.
Well, yeah, it's a good. It's a great little movie about a convoy, and the thing that really resonates for me is the fact that that they get all together and you can see the line of trucks going down the hill and over the next hill, and that was amazing. Like, it's always kind of fun to group things together like that. Like, there's the scene at the end of Field of Dreams where it's just like going off into the distance, all these cars. Yeah, it was the same thing with the trucks, and or as Lee would call them, lorries. Yeah.
I'd have called them trucks.
All right. Well, that's fine. There's plenty of product placement. There's Freightliners and Peterbilts and Mack trucks like crazy all over the place. He drives a Mack truck. The story is, one of, how much is it going to be paid? How much is of rebellion is going to be paid back, and that sort of thing. And also the crashing between these truckers and the cops, that was kind of big thing too. And CBs were great. The fact that they didn't assume that the cop had a CB was also really funny, because of course they do.
Well, yeah, the cop was talking to him on it.
Yeah. I mean, that was funny. And Alan McGraw didn't act her face off in this.
She didn't do anything in this.
She was a bit like Kristen Stewart in Twilight. Just kind of there to say a line and then to move on. It was difficult, and I really like this movie, and I chose this movie. But there is the thing about this movie that is like the other one that we just reviewed. We just reviewed To Serve with Love, and this one has the same kind of experience, that a song that is really it basically tells the story of the movie, and it's just kind of woven through the action of it.
The song was written in a hit before the movie was made. The movie was made from the song.
Yeah. So, but they did weave it through too with and So, what do you think is to begin this?
Okay. Well. Okay. So, I remember here. I'm unfortunately young enough and old enough to remember when the song was on the radio, and I guess originally it was an ad exec who turned into a country singer.
C.W. McCall?
Right. And then the other thing is that, I was just mentioning off camera about all the movies of the 70s, and this is part of the possibly more than blue collar, movies of the time, like the original Dukes of Hazzard, which was a lot nastier, that movie, than the TV show. They actually cleaned it up after 5 episodes. The original movie was a lot nastier, and a lot more of the, Confederate flag and all that. So CBS tidied that up for
Yeah.
the Dukes of Hazzard.
But there wasn't that rebel thing, except for the rebellion of the. It wasn't like Confederacy.
Right. Well, yeah. I mean, obviously, you don't want that in a movie unless you're going to show characters. The only real stereotypical character a little bit was the sheriff. And when later on in the movie, when the African American guy got beat up in the jail, and he's still alive. Franklin Ajay is still alive.
Cool.
So there's a lot of people. I looked just to check, and there's a lot of people still alive from. I thought that people had passed away. Apparently, there's at least 6 people from this movie that are still alive. It was in the Peckinpah version. That was another thing that was big in the 60s and the 70s. And his movies were kind of rough and violent. And you knew when you were seeing that, you weren't going to see a stylized version of what a lot of American cinemas has done in the 60s, and then it changed in the late 70s with more, French Connection and Godfather and other similar movies. I've watched this 5 times now in the recent years. It is a bit uncouth, but it's supposed to be, because I haven't met too many truckers that are, highfalutin per se. Plus, it's a rough life, and you have to spend a lot of time awake driving alone. And I think they did illustrate that pretty well. Bert Young. It is funny that Bert Young is in this movie because he was big on Law and Order. He's been in 4 episodes of that. He was in 5 episodes of Beretta, another cop show from the 70s that took inspiration from real life.
The Rocky movies as well.
The Rocky movies. So it's kind of funny. And so, yeah, I mean, it is sort of a slice of a little bit of stereotypical characters, a little bit. But I did like the movie. I did like how it started. It's beautifully filmed. Like I said, I'm not a trucker, so I don't know how accurate it was. It seems pretty accurate.
It is pretty accurate.
I don't know if people thought that the scene in the diner was realistic or not, but and then Ernest Borgnine's character, he usually played good characters, so this is kind of funny how he played the villain, and it's worse than BJ and the Bear and Smokey and the Bandit, and then on TV, Dukes of Hazzard, Misadventures of Sheriff Lobo. There was a lot of this sort of hillbilly. Even John Travolta, ironically enough, played a cowboy. But that was the urban cowboy, and that was starting to go into the 80s. So it's kind of funny how they, this is another sub genre maybe of cowboy, trucker, working class, blue collar type of movies. Now, Lee, since you're from the British side of the world, or the ocean pond, how many British drivers have you ever known? I'm trying to remember if there's any TV shows that showed British truckers.
He's one.
I can't think of any TV shows. No.
Was there any British movies that showed real working class, real blue collar British guys?
I think there was a 1950s movie. Was it called Hell Drivers?
Oh
yeah.
Yeah, called Hell Drivers. I think Stanley Baker was in the movie.
Huh.
So, because isn't it a little bit ironic? I mean, there was a lot of spy movies and gangster movies. Some of them played by Michael Caine, who we all know now as the Christopher Nolan Alfred Butler. But of course, since Americans and sadly steal a lot of ideas from the British.
But this one wasn't stolen. This one was part of the song, and
right.
This was part of the during that time there were a lot, or right after this movie was made, there were a lot of movies like Smokey and the Bandit, BJ and the Bear. There was the whole the one Maximum Overdrive that we watched, and I mean, like there was.
Yeah, this is all American. Yeah, it's all American. There's no Britishness about this one. all these convoys and trucks.
Yep.
Yeah.
We'd never get anything like that. A movie made like that over here. This is what you Americans do the best. Put a truck in the movie.
Yeah. we even
and a diner.
Right.
We even created the Optimus Prime to be a truck. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wish our friend Ethan was here. He would go properly bonkers over that. Anyway, I think that it's a good hour and 40 minutes and stuff. It's really it's a fun movie.
The beans and chili and the PBR, the blue ribbon, the really cheap beer. What was it, Schlitz and other really the beer that you can buy anywhere.
Yep.
And then of course they didn't do NASCAR and all that. I don't remember how big that was in the 70s, so that came a little later.
Yeah.
But can you relate to it, Lee? I mean, is there anything that you can? I mean, of course, America is a lot bigger. It is a lot bigger than England, so you can drive. You can be a truck driver.
That would never happen over here. you'd never get the police constable or whatever jumping on an armored tank, firing at a juggernaut.
Yeah, that was. I don't know how realistic that was in the movie, but I mean, if it's to make you hate him, he did a wonderful job there.
Trouble is, you don't really hate him because when he sits down with Spider Mike after he's been beaten up he's in the police cell, you can see that he's looking at him with all he's been beaten up and all of that. He's looking at him and he turns around to him and says, "I'll let you know about the baby kid as soon as I find out." So it's like that. 1 minute is bad, 1 minute is feeling for the other characters, but I don't know. And at the end, he's laughing because he realizes rubber ducks go away. He's laughing. You see.
Well, no, but I mean, obviously, he did try to extort money from all three of the drivers. He did take all the money from Spider Mike.
Yeah.
To the point where he couldn't buy lunch in the diner.
And this is where it's the racism where the previous movie, the racism was what we've reviewed was it was just
subtle.
This was there, boom, right in your face.
Yeah, this really was.
It didn't hold back.
Right.
Right.
But I mean, the other thing that I noticed about the character was when he was handcuffed to that, to the set of chairs in front of the bar, in front of the counter, how he just, he was yelling at the other waitress that what was his real name, was Martin or something, the rubber duck had slept with. And then the Ernest Borgnine character got so mad that he just took out his gun and started shooting. I understand that the diner was messed up after that huge fight, but it's like the waitress had to go wait and then lift the seat up. But he was so angry that he just started shooting at.
He was so angry, but also maybe it was showing us that he was a bit thick.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean that was
that's true.
That was kind of funny at that part in the movie where he almost did the Dukes of Hazzard jump with the chickens and stuff. I was like, oh, here we go, Dukes of Hazzard in this movie. Yeah, the movie was around at the same time. It was originally called Moonrunners, and it did do the Dukes of Hazzard jump. So I said, that's a little interesting that they kind of, they find out one or two things.
Yeah, I mean, before we started recording, I did say I remembered this movie being a lot better than it is now, because I sat and watched it this week. I enjoyed it more back then when I watched it originally, because when you're with older eyes, shall we say, watching this, what was the story? What can somebody tell me the plot?
Plot was to get a bunch of truckers together in a line.
Was that it? Was that
to thwart the police and getting in line and being part of something bigger than yourself for a lonely job. That this was like coming to Midtown Manhattan. It's like the press of people, and that's fun.
But as Rubber Duck said, they're not following me. I'm just in front.
Yeah.
But I was sat watching it and I'm thinking, there's no plot. There's no plot line.
Well, that is the plot line. It's getting a bunch of truckers together, all in a line.
No, I mean, of course, it's still, I don't know if you can relate to this, Lee, or if there's an example. I mean, he does dress almost like a cowboy. He dresses like a cowboy. The other people, even the African American woman in the movie, sort of dresses like cowgirl. And they're driving trucks, and we know that's a lonely life. There's still truckers in this day.
I think truckers do sort of dress like that.
Right.
They do, as a rule.
So you have the American diners, and you have the the 70s, where everybody was either wearing bell bottoms, or they're wearing jeans, or they're wearing plaid shirts, and then you had all the shirts with if you go to like a Salvation Army or a used secondhand clothing store, you have the shirts with the buttons, the click.
Yeah, this was a pretty straightforward movie. Just a bunch of
it was. There was
trucks in a line. The other thing that going all the way from from Los Angeles area through New Mexico, through Arizona, through California to Arizona, New Mexico, and then into Texas, and then crossing. I mean, it's basically a road trip movie with a bunch of people. And there, there was an arty sort of farty movie called Baghdad Cafe, which is about a truck stop, which was fun and really sort of artsy fartsy instead of this one. This one isn't very artful. It's just very straightforward. There isn't the depth of relationship and stuff, and so I mean, no, I even see the guy, what's his name?
I think it's artistic. I mean, the desert, you see the desert, the dust.
Rubber Duck he's with his girlfriend, Violet. No, what was his girlfriend's name? Anyway.
Well, yeah, the waitress. But then
the waitress.
But then the waitress sees that he has a new.
And then so I mean, she goes into the truck and she's expecting to sleep with him, and then he's like distracted by the whole thing, and then
the cop fight. Yeah. The like I said, it was the era of
errors have a point, but there was, I mean, there weren't scenes that they were just like, holy crap, I've never seen that in a movie before.
Well, no, but I mean, it was a Peckinpah movie, and a Peckinpah movie is known for the violence. There was a very long fight scene between the cops and the truckers.
Peckinpah's most successful movie of his career.
Right. So I mean, again, the era of the Good Buddy, 10-4. I mean, even if there are truckers now, the terms have changed now. Obviously,
they have
after
not
10 years.
Changed.
After 10 years.
They have not changed.
Okay, well, you can disagree with me if you like. The like I said, the era of the 70s in terms of movies was great. It showed pieces of life, whether you were a cop, whether you were a drug addict, whether you were horror movies were very interesting, that we're still ripping off today after 30 years or more.
Okay.
But I mean, that unfortunately, I don't think there's only been a few movies that are slightly similar to this. Like I think Little Miss Sunshine, or the National Lampoon's, the original movie with Chevy Chase. Some people say that's a travel movie. It's slightly different than this.
But it's not a trucking movie. Trucking movies are this small segment of motion pictures, but they like to use the trucks themselves as a character.
Sure. Yeah, the trucks had character. You had Pigpen, who but called himself the Love Machine. The Bert Young character. You had the African American. What was her name? Widow.
Yeah.
Widow.
Where she she actually crashed.
Yeah.
But was okay.
I just left the truck. Leave the truck. Let's get in another truck.
Yeah, it was ruined. I mean, she even said, "I hate this truck." At the end, she's like, "I hate this truck." And then traveling with the two other guys. I mean, of course, like I said, the other thing is the sort of the police brutality, whether it was Dirty Lyle or the other cops. And then they emphasize the code, the 10-30-30 or whatever. That's one thing about the truckers too, is that they sort of had a code that they had and then the bear meant cop, just like in Smokey and the Bear. The bear is slang for cop or sheriff or whatever.
Yeah, and I love how they started off with like the cop being proved a dummy, because they said that she wasn't Rubber Duck said that she wasn't wearing any panties or any pants. That sheriff just lit out after him.
Yeah. And then she sent him to an hotel room and wait for him. Yeah.
And then the other thing was the shower scene, and when everybody's taking a shower all at once and one of those open.
Yeah.
That was hilarious.
But anything else you'd like to say? Any moments?
Yeah, those moments. What about you?
I did like the diner scene where it all just kicked off. I mean, that was just the choreography of the fight scenes and all like that, and then said Dirty Lyle being proven that he is thick by shooting at the shooting at the cuffs. I mean, he could have had his hand off, and then she just lifts the thing off. You see, all this wouldn't have happened if Pigpen and Spider Mike hadn't wound Dirty Lyle up over the CB.
Yep.
They was winding him up.
They really were.
They got him riled.
Yep.
They've only got themselves to blame.
The funny thing is, I don't know if that was the main cook or the main guy in the diner, but it was so funny while he's seeing all this carnage and he doesn't do anything. Or he's like, "I don't have to work under these circumstances," or something like that. I was like, dude, you couldn't call you couldn't call any buddies or leave or whatever. And he's just like, I don't have to deal with, your place is getting torn up. I mean, it's amazing that people didn't just start shooting up the place until it was Swiss cheese,
Yeah.
Because they weren't going to pay for it, obviously. That was another thing. All the concussion inducing stunts. Amazing that almost everybody walked away from it because you throw your body into a pinball machine or a pool table or what is it, that the glass case display and all that
with all the cakes and the pies.
Yeah, so I mean, somebody should have been dead with all that, thrown around.
This was the era. The 70s was the era of when stunts sort of took over. Yeah, the 60s movies you didn't really, but once it got to the 70s, let's say Convoy, Smoking the Bandit, all the car stunts. This is when it all took off.
Right, and then I mean, even at the end with the Dirty Lao with the machine gun, the action packed. It's like, is it really action packed or is it just a lot of?
But that was a bit unbelievable. I think a tank. What?
Yeah.
I know.
Well, I mean, yeah, I mean, this is the days of before the internet where you could see this in 10 seconds. This is the old days of it. That was part of the fun of the movies too, is that if you wanted to see something wild and outrageous and dramatic, where would you see it 95% of the time? In a movie.
Yep.
That's where you had.
The funny bit where the cop car was stuck behind one of the water trucks.
Oh, and the one where Alex just did it with his hands. The cop car in between the two trucks.
The sandwich.
The
sandwich. And I'm like, yeah.
I mean, you can't knock the stunts in these movies are brilliant. They're really well thought out.
Yeah, I think that's what this is. Maybe just a vehicle for stunts.
Yeah. But I agree with what Susan said earlier though about Ally McGraw. I just don't know why she was in this movie at all. Just had nothing to do.
Well, no, she was in Goodbye Columbus, where she was a wild character in that. She was in.
But why was she in this?
Because Rubber Duck didn't need her in the movie.
The other one was what? The Getaway. Maybe that. I think she was in that one. That was a heist movie.
That Sam Peckinpah.
You had what is it? Love Story, where she was a little bit calmer.
I liked that story. That was a good one.
She was in a lot of movies where she was wild. She took off her clothes. She was liberated. Yeah, she was liberated. So I mean, I guess she was that example. I mean, even in interviews, she kind of goes, "Yeah, that was my character. I was the wild, the wild child."
I get the feeling she was only here, and we've had this before in TV shows, to ask questions.
Right.
So like
Rubber Duck, why this? Why are you doing that? Why they? He has to explain things.
Yeah.
Because I can't see any point for her being there. But I don't know.
I mean, again, would it have been another character? I mean, he did have the girlfriend in the diner, sort of, but
not really, because when you look at it, you didn't really. He didn't need anybody sat next to him.
No.
Well, yeah, that's why when he leaves, even though he's going to get Spider Mike from being in the the trucker hell after getting beaten in prison and all that, in the jail, I should say. She's with the Pigpen Love Machine character. He keeps saying, "My name's Love Machine," even though everybody else is calling him Pigpen because he's transporting pigs in the truck. So he talks to her for a while, but he's kind of polite, calling her saying ma'am and all this, and it's like, no, she didn't say her name, and Duck didn't say her name or whatever. He's very formal with her. I guess she was a photographer or something in the movie, I guess.
Yeah.
Well, she was going to photograph a wedding or something, wasn't she?
Right.
And we haven't said much about Ernest Borgnine. I know but he's another of the silver screen classic actors.
Yeah.
been in
Seymour Cassel.
yeah, been in loads and loads of great movies. He could put his hand to anything really. Play the heavy, play the comedy. So any movie where he pops up, I always enjoy watching him work. Even if he is playing a sadistic racist sheriff in this one.
Well, yeah, wasn't he in McHale's Navy? That sort of comedy that reminds me a little bit of Hogan's Heroes, even though it's not really, but that sort of Sergeant Bilko, 50s, 60s era, type of thing. And he usually played good characters. It wasn't until the end that he was, playing.
Well, you've got to give a kudos up to Airwolf as well.
Yeah, and Bert Young, the guy who played Paulie in Rocky.
Yeah, he played Paulie.
Yep.
Still playing Paulie in Rocky.
Yeah.
So, anything else you'd like to say about this before we move to final say and score?
Hang on, I'm looking up Seymour Cassel. Hang on a second.
Well, yeah, I mean, they did mention the union. I don't know how many unions the truckers have.
No, they have the Teamsters.
The Teamsters, yeah. So I mean,
that's basically the big trucking union in this country.
Right. Well, but the thing is, both the cop and the rubber duck are like, oh, I don't want to join the union. So I don't know if you can be a trucker and not be in the union, but
yeah, and that guy Seymour Cassel was most well known for doing strange movies like Rushmore, Dick Tracy, In the Soup, Life Aquatic, and Lucky Dog. Yeah, he's just the guy who played that other
governor.
The governor. That was amazing.
So
he was just a normal guy in this one, but in most of the things he's like this quirky guy. So that was it's fun to see him too.
Yeah. So let's do final say and score.
Okay.
I think we've gone around all the moments and stuff like that. So over to you.
Camera went out.
Oh, come on.
Shake the wire.
Yep. So I don't know how true to life it is, but I mean, this is like the 70s with the, Dukes of Hazzard, all that type of era. The cars can do super stunts and all that. I mean, I did enjoy it. It is beautifully filmed. You do have police brutality in here, so it sort of resonates now.
Yeah.
A little bit. But unfortunately, since I'm I never did jobs like this. I don't know if it's realistic or not.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's it was a fun song in the 70s. Like I said, the 70s were a very interesting time. The lack of, you could only buy certain clothes, or you had to know a subculture to change, or you had to know, the terminal, it was so lingo heavy. I didn't realize that, but looking back now, it's very lingo heavy.
Yep.
But then there wasn't a lot of jive, but then there might have been trucker jive.
No, the truckers speak mostly the way they do on CVs.
Yeah.
I mean, what did you give it out of 10?
Well, the cinematography is great, so I'd give it a 9. Right. Cinematography is pretty good.
That's a good score for you. Yeah. I will give this. I'll give this an 8.5. It's a good one. I love trucking movies. I was a truck driver for like 7 years.
And do you miss doing the?
I never had an air horn. I always had a horn in the middle of my steering wheel. I wasn't in a big rig. I was in a medium-sized big rig. Do you drive a lorry with a horn, a pole horn, an air horn?
I'd drive a truck, but I don't have
An air horn?
it's just in the steering wheel.
Yeah, middle of the steering wheel. That's and unless you get way over like 5 tons, you're just gonna have the one in the middle of the steering wheel.
And a good way to advertise the movie, like on the DVD covers, is like a porn movie, isn't it?
Yeah. And there was no sex.
There was no sex. But I was just trying to read the back of this, but I've just realised I've got the German version.
Oh.
So, die Truckdriver, die Status starten in einen kleinen Krieg mit der Polizei.
Oh yeah.
Oh, you don't
Well,
say.
yeah, like in the song, ain't nothing gonna get in our way. We got a mighty convoy. Because the funny thing is, even the Simpsons have made fun of this song, and of course they had their own version, slightly modified, the monorail. But they did make fun of Convoy. I mean, I don't know if it applies to England, but I mean, of course, England, you have the Italian race cars and all that you can, drive around in these very beautiful looking cars. But yeah, there's always been this American thing of, if you have a car, you have freedom. Almost like, and sadly, like guns too. That once you have a gun and a car, you can, do whatever you want. And you don't have to be in one place. And, this sort of cowboy, free spirit, trope of,
Okay, but
I can do anything I want.
But back in the cowboy days, the it would have been done with like cowboys moving the pigs around the countryside on horseback, and it was a hell of a lot of walking for the pigs and stuff.
Right.
But this way, you just put them in a truck and ship them.
Yeah, but then you have the interesting thing of rawhide, even though that was a lot more racially stereotypical. But the thing is, head them up, and talking about the loneliness of the rawhide song and all that. I mean, they didn't have trucks back then, but you have this idea of working class, tending to the land. A little different than a farmer in a sense.
Well, ranching is different from farming, but it's just the
trucking.
So is trucking.
Yeah. So I mean, no, but that's sort of. I think the movie definitely feeds into that, because the cop and the other people are trying to stop him, and they're like, no, hell no, we won't go. Hell no, we won't. We won't do what you say.
Yeah.
So that's sort of, free spirit thing. That's sort of, I'll do what I want. I'll travel where I want. You can't stop me.
Yep. That's the whole.
Well, I'm gonna be the lowest score on this one then. I'm gonna give it 7.5 rubber ducks out of 10.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Yes. Yeah. It's just that. It's not as good as I remembered it. It's not dated well.
Yeah.
It's still a good watch if you want to see some, good acting in this. But yeah, it's and as for me, as I said, I can't see a plot. Susan says there's a plot. I can't see a plot. But hey ho. But yeah, that's right, 7.5. So it's not too.
You don't have plot holes if you don't have a plot. They say that.
Yeah. So that's our little review of Convoy. So thank you both for taking part. You guys out there, please leave a message below. Let us know what you thought of this movie if you've seen it, and if not, why haven't you seen it? Get out there and watch it, and then come back to us and say, Lee, I agree with you.
And there was no sex. Nope.
No sex, and that's a bit strange for a 70s movie.
That is.
Yeah. So please follow us on Twitter, Facebook, Insta, and YouTube. Please, if you're subscribed to our channel, please press the bell notification button. Every time we put up a new video, you'll get a little notification. And if you'd like to be on our group casts and everything like that, please get in touch with us. Just message us and we'll sort you out. But please be 18 plus. Have a working microphone and camera on a laptop, PC, tablet, or phone, and we'll have you in.
Yep.
So, anything else,
Oh,
Susan?
one more thing is I loved the bus full of hippie churchy guys. Useless people traveling down the road. That was fun.
You don't often see them these days.
That's they don't have open like roof fun buses anymore.
Yeah.
They're just in normal cars doing normal
So
things.
I'd like to leave this cast with Susan honking her horn to her heart's content. Over to you, Susan.
Wah, 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 wah.
Oh God, she's one crazy woman.
Yeah.
I'm finished. I don't know about you.
No, they. I